So, Ola Electric, Bhavish Agarwal's ambitious EV two-wheeler venture, is finally coming onto the market. The company aims to raise 6,100 crore rupees in its initial public offer, which is a mix of fresh shares and an offer for sale. Proceeds will primarily go into research and development of products and its ambitious gigafactory for EVs. Now, Ola's IPO comes at a time when electric two-wheelers have been booming in sales, bucking a slowdown faced this year by electric passenger vehicles. India witnessed record high electric two-wheeler sales in FY24, touching nearly 942,000 units, up around 30% year-on-year. Even if you look at the calendar year, in the first half, sales grew to 556,000 units, about 58% higher than total e-two-wheeler sales in calendar year 2023. Of that, Ola Electric, the market leader, sold more than 329,000 EVs in FY24, close to double the previous year. But there are concerns around its growing losses. They grew to 1,584 crore rupees in FY24, up from 1,472 crore rupees in FY23. Plus, there is the incessant cash burn, plus past serious glitches with its products. So, what should the investor expect from this company as they go and put their money into its maiden public fundraising? Listen on. It's Thursday, the 1st of August. I'm your host Anirban Chaudhary, and this is the Morning Brief. To understand where Ola Electric stands and what lies ahead for it, I spoke to Manu Toms and Shumandra Barua, my two ET colleagues and its auto experts. I started by asking Manu what must be in Ola founder Bhavish Agarwal's mind now.
I think it's very simple and straightforward. The IPO has to go through and it has to be successful. That's what, I think his singular focus right now would be that.
So Manu, give me a background to the IPO.
So this IPO also has a context, So if you look at Bhavish Agarwal has been in the market to raise funds for Ola Electric from early 2023. I myself have reported about the fundraising conversations that he had. And then there were multiple other reports on his talks for 300 million fundraise. But later, he had to settle for a 140 million kind of an equity round where an existing investor, Temasek, had put in money. And then much later, he went for a 100 million debt round. So for last, say, 16, 18 months, there has been a fundraising effort that had gone on in the private market. And also, given the kind of ambitions that the company has, maybe private market has a certain limit to sort of, bankroll those expansion plans. And therefore, his next best option is to go for a public listing. So when the company was trying to raise money in the private market in early 2023, the valuation numbers that's being quoted were 8 billion, 9 billion, etc. But now there is a significant reduction in this number, in the valuation. So the number that's being quoted is 4 billion. So the one belief is that this 4 billion valuation that's being quoted, that could probably be after anchor investors are putting in their money. So that would essentially mean the pre-money valuation right now would be about, say, 3.5 billion.
And do you think this the reduction in valuation, is it a sobering effect after some of the debacles that have faced startups which went for high valuation and then, tumbled?
Yes. Yeah. It could probably be. I think maybe, one can argue that this is a wise decision in the light of, what happened to Paytm, so went for a very high valuation and a very large size of fundraise in the public market. And then the result was for all of us to see.
Suma, I'd like to bring you in here. Now, Ola Electric's IPO is the first after Maruti Suzuki. Now, Maruti Suzuki is the market leader in passenger vehicles, while Ola Electric is the market leader in electric two-wheelers. But, the comparison ends there, right? Because Ola is riddled with these issues of losses and cash burn and concerns around its products as well, from tech glitches to product design. For an investor, as he goes into the market to invest in this IPO, what are the positives and what are the concerns?
See, instead of kind of dividing it between concerns and positive, let's look at the overall picture. And as you rightly kind of compared or used the example of Maruti Suzuki, indeed, after Maruti Suzuki, this is the first big IPO from an automobile maker. We have to look at it in the overall story also. Maruti came to the markets, floated the IPO after decades of existence, after establishing its position and gaining the customer trust over years and decades. But however, in the case of Ola Electric, it's a totally different story.
So, Sumo, what are the 2-3 things or more that the company has to take care of that you're referring to?
What I feel is, from where I stand, I feel that they have to perform consistently in offering quality products and quality performance in those products, as well as, very crucial in India and of course everywhere, the customer satisfaction in terms of after sales support. Because as we all know, the after sales experience can make or break a brand, and especially when it is a relatively new brand. So that is one area where they have to really perform and perform well. And considering that more so because there is a history of certain incidents involving Ola Electric, which were obviously not good. In fact, I mean, with the new standards, the AIS 156, that has kind of really helped in enhancing the overall quality levels across the industry. But as I said, these have to be kind of delivered consistently for a fair amount of significant period for consumers to really have more and more confidence, not only on Ola as a brand, but generally on the EV as a technology also.
Okay.
One aspect of the Ola Electric emerging story is also the vertically integrated manufacturing strategy. That should bode well for the company, because with the local in-house manufacturing of battery cells, that will help them contain costs significantly, bring down the costs significantly. As we all know, the battery cost alone constitutes at least about 30% of an EV's cost. So in Ola Electric's case, they say that the new the cell which they're manufacturing in-house, will pack more punch. In fact, Bhavish Agarwal said that it will have 5 times more energy density compared to the current cells that they use. So that would mean in the same battery pack size, you can have much more energy packed, which means longer range, for example. So that should bode well for enhancing the appeal or the competitiveness of an Ola product. But as I said, overall, the company has to really deliver good performance, quality, and after sales, solid after sales support, and of course, it has to ensure a robust supply chain for a sustainable growth story.
Has Ola significantly taken care of the concerns around its product design and safety?
One cannot vouch for them, but from what it appears that they have kind of addressed many of these issues and challenges that they were facing. And they, or for that matter, any other EV industry player, had the choice, because the government had come up with norms, AIS 156, which are related to the battery safety. And that was a key issue, that key reason for those fire incidents to have taken place. So with that AIS 156 standards in place in the latter half of 2022, so that kind of addressed this concern to a great level. And because everyone who wanted to play in the market had to adhere by those standards, so thereby, I think the quality standards have also moved up, including for Ola.
And also, what I would look out for in Ola Electric is, what we see, the range of products, the S1 and the derivatives or variants, they all have their roots in the Itergo scooter. The Itergo, I mean, Ola Electric, as just for the benefit of all our listeners, is actually Ola Electric was formed by acquiring Itergo, an Amsterdam-based e-scooter maker, and that's how Ola Electric was created. So the Ola S1 and the variants that there are now, they have their roots there. So in a way, it's not an original Ola Electric scooter, though they have made a lot of re-engineering and refinement to the Itergo scooter. But a ground up Ola Electric scooter is what I would also look forward to, and which they are working on. And also they're working on motorcycles. So these are the these are the products, the product range which will be building ground up what will determine how the Ola Electric story will evolve here on. So that's another key factor that I would look out for.
Manu, what would you say explains Ola Electric's success, if we may call it that, despite these concerns?
This is a very interesting question because I myself have asked this because I have tracked the company's challenges from the start. I myself have reported quite a number of fire incidents and the decisions that led to some of these situations, etc. And so we all know that there was a very strong customer backlash. So none of these things did really affect the company's march to the pole position of the Indian electric scooter market. Why is it so? If you look at Bhavish Agarwal's entrepreneurial journey, so he was initially taking on Uber in the cab aggregation business. So that time he had raised this argument that Uber is doing capital dumping in India. But if we come to the Bhavish electric scooter business, he's probably, this has been a very, capital intensive game. So he has priced down his products and he started a hugely expensive distribution network. And that is propelling his sales at the moment is what one view of Ola's success in terms of its sales and market share.
Do you think, this whole thing of the Gigafactory and his ambitions of, even bidding for lithium mines and all of that, do you think that overambition still remains? And do you think that is something the investor should always keep at the back of his mind when investing in this company?
So one thing which, an industry executive was telling me, the cell manufacturing is a capital intensive game where, it's a commodity business with the complexities of semiconductor industry, which would actually require $1 billion upfront investment. So if we look at from a capital availability point of view or the organizational bandwidth point of view, one would tend to think Ola maybe is still not there yet. So, and at the time, to me, it looks like there are future projects which would require serious amount of work. They may be a little early for us to talk about it, from the outside.
Manu, a large part of the IPO proceeds, according to numbers in the document, in the DRHP document, seem to be going not towards the factory, but towards R&D of its new products. How do you see that?
See, if you look at, they started off as a 10 million unit capacity plant, and much of the project was completed, I believe. So in that sense, their capacity utilization is still at a very low level. And when it comes to product, Ola is still a single platform company. So they would naturally want to expand their range of offerings, and therefore much of the focus or investment capital would go into the product development. So I think that's quite straightforward approach.
Okay, now Manu and Sumo, a question to you both. Ola is the leader in a segment which is actually getting more and more competitive by the day. And I'm not just talking about the pure play EV two-wheeler companies like Ather, but also incumbents like Bajaj Auto who are bringing out variants of their ICE vehicles into the market. Now, as the traditional companies bring in more and more skin into the game, do you see that performing the dynamics of the market and edging out the current leaders?
So my broad sense is the market is consolidating around 4 or 5 players now. And TVS, Bajaj and Ather, they all have carved their niche. And then Hero Motocorp is also coming up big time. So, one interesting factor, if you look at, see, the incumbents are now starting to see some traction. So, for instance, Bajaj, which is not really making so much of an impact till a few months ago or till a year ago, the first half of 2024. So, Bajaj got a third of Ola's numbers in terms of the unit sales, and they are growing twice as fast as Ola. And also Hero Motocorp has got much smaller market share, but they are growing at a very fast pace.
And secondly, when it comes to distribution, these well-established players have international distribution networks, which the startups don't have as of now. And they have a good kind of penetration in some key markets, let's say in the Southeast Asian region, for example. So that would make it relatively easier for them to have a global play. And Indian OEMs have really made their mark in the traditional two-wheeler industry also by competing very well with the global international players, foreign makers. So I would expect this India EV industry to go global as well. And there I would expect the established players, the well-established OEMs, to take a lead, and a significant lead maybe over the startups.
So therefore, I think it's going to be much more competitive going forward. And meanwhile, there is some filtration happening in the market, so the small players who were on the leaderboard earlier when the market was less competitive, they are declining. So I think, these 4 or 5 players would be very interesting to watch out, how the competition is going to shape between all these players. So yeah, I think battle is on.
So Mantra, let's talk about finances. Ola's finances, which are clearly not ship-shape, right? The growing losses and cash burn are a concern. How do you read that?
That's a very crucial point. Well, if I were an investor, I'd look at it obviously very cautiously, because as much as Ola Electric sits on top pretty with a 35% market share, as I mentioned at the end of last year. But let's say it's still some time away from making profit. And if you look at the EBITDA margin, for example, for FY24, the EBITDA margin stood at almost 20% negative. And the positive 20% EBITDA margin is that of Bajaj Auto, one of the most profitable companies in the automotive industry. So that's where you see, then it shows a different picture, you see. If you look at the profitable part, yes, the negative EBITDA margins have kind of reduced from minus 43% in FY23 to minus 19.8%, almost 20%, as I mentioned, in FY24. And as volumes grow, as the company makes more revenue, and as the investment cycle in terms of setting up capacity and all kind of progresses, I think at some point they will make profit. But when, that is something very difficult to predict as of now. When that intersection happens in terms of volume growth curve and the profitability curve, volume growth curve and the profits. So I think that's when things will be much better. But as of now, it's still some time away.
It is said of many startups that they envisage a headline first and then make plans backwards to make that happen. As we've all seen, the markets can be ruthless towards such reckless ambitions. Ola too is ambitious, but it has volumes to show for them. And it exists at a time when electric mobility is the story in India and worldwide. As Manu said, previous debacles faced by other startups seem to have had a sobering impact on Ola. It'll be interesting to see how soon it addresses other concerns, primarily financial, to make itself a robust offering for its horde of new investors. That's it for today. You were listening to this episode on The Morning Brief. It was produced by Vinay Joshi, sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. Please like, share and subscribe if the episode appealed to you. The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday on a listening platform of your choice. Have a good rest of the week.